Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite waifus. I've had Persona on the brain a lot lately, and watching this great video series dissecting P5's characters from a Japanese cultural perspective, the discussion of how Anne is handled in the immediate aftermath of the opening arc got me thinking about how jarring that part really is again, and how it could have easily been handled better. To recap, Anne Takamaki, Best Phantom Thief Girl Fight Me, is a mixed-race high schooler who's being sexually harassed by her teacher, Kamoshida, along with her best friend Shiho. The abuse reaches the point where Shiho attempts to end her own life. This gives the fledgling Phantom Thieves the drive they need to change Kamoshida's heart, even with the risk of killing him, and Anne joins the team to help take the abuser down. Anne's perseverance is genuinely inspiring, and the game takes its story very seriously in this arc. There's a reason this arc is generally seen as the strongest in the game. Then, in the very next arc, Anne is blackmailed by Yusuke into posing nude for a painting, and the entire thing is played for laughs. Again, right after the game took her sexual exploitation very fucking seriously. And yes, Anne dressing up in an obscene number of layers to buy herself time is a funny bit, but the placement of this story is all wrong. It's about on par with having Anne's dramatic awakening immediately precede a fight against a demon on a fucking toilet. And on top of that, it's astoundingly out of character for Yusuke, who typically seems generally oblivious towards the opposite sex and not nearly as aggressive as he's presented here. Coming back to this scene after getting to know Yusuke, it seems totally alien for his character to be doing this. So I have one change for each character to make this part work a little better. It doesn't fix it entirely, but I'm not sure you could do that without a total rewrite of the scenario, especially since Anne's plight here is also used to introduce the concept of secure locations in the real world being impenetrable in the metaverse and how to get around that. First, we have Yusuke. Again, this whole sequence feels totally wrong for him given how he is characterized in every other scene he is a part of. What we're going to say is that there is an external force compelling him to act this way. Yusuke is being pressured into doing a nude painting either by Madarame, who understands the value of such pieces and wants to exploit Yusuke for his upcoming exhibition, or Yusuke is taking part in some art competition and nudity is pivotal to the theme, if only from Yusuke's later established limited understanding of art and beauty. This way, this bizarre character turn feels less jarring because he's not taking the initiative to do this. He is being pressured into making this rather intimate art piece that he struggles to do since he's quite awkward and hasn't been able to secure a model due to that. In his desperation, he is compelled to abuse this leverage he has over Anne. He will, of course, later apologise to her over this and she'll forgive him because she understands what it's like to be backed into a corner where you feel like you don't have any other choice. This helps to strengthen her own characterisation as well by showing off her empathetic side some more. Given how important the concept of forgiveness evidently is in Japan based on how often characters are just abruptly forgiven for heinous acts, it seems shockingly rare for them to actually apologise and seek forgiveness and redemption themselves, instead of just being handed it on a silver platter by the people who have suffered because of them. As for the other alteration, the way Anne is forced into this by the writers would also change. Instead of Ryuji very casually saying, "Well, guess you gotta," and Joker's only option being to wish her luck, we'll have Ryuji and Joker be very reluctant to ask her to go through with this because of recent events, even if it is their best option at that point. Ryuji can say, "Hey, you don't have to do this," and Joker says, "We can find another way," but Anne will say, "No, I can do this," with fierce determination. This changes the scene from Anne being exploited again and creating an astoundingly tone-deaf scenario to her deciding for herself that she will go through with this, showing her growth from the previous arc by finding the determination to go through with this to save Madarame's victims, including the one trying to coerce her right now, and reclaiming her sexuality in some way. We can still keep the multiple layers of clothing bit though, since in addition to being a funny bit, it also works as Anne thinking outside the box to buy herself time. Maybe we can even slip in something of Ryuji's and Joker's to Anne's clothing collection to suggest the boys helped her a little here. It's not perfect, but I think a small change like this would help a lot, and is the type of thing the team should absolutely have considered in Royal, along with cutting or reworking the girls beating up Ryuji for no reason that one time, instead of more pointless faffing around with Yoshizawa. You know, these re-releases are a great opportunity for the devs to look back over the story and consider, could this have been done better? Is this thing a bit of a problem? Does this make sense with how the characters ended up being developed later on, and working to make the core experience of P5 better, instead of just setting up the new story arc that, as I've said before, would have been better served as a separate game where we'd have more time to actually explore that narrative. Still, for all P5 and Royal's faults, at least they didn't push Marie as a viable love interest, so the writing is certainly improving. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is the aforementioned Anne Takamaki and Japanese Socio-Cultural Issues by Lady Virgilia. And Anne, because I saw in the script it said Anne joined the team last time I was going over it. I put Anne's join the team. Multiple Annes? When did this happen? Why did no one tell me? There can't possibly be two Anns.